I guess it's sort of like being married to a doctor, you know. The doctor gets wakened in the middle of the night, and then the wife has to cope with the fact that he's gone. I guess I'm just too selfish.
No, you're not selfish at all.
Yes, I am selfish when it comes to you. I am selfish. And I'm jealous of the whole world.
Lois, it may not be easy for you to hear this now, but someday you'll...
Clark, look, don't tell me that I'll meet somebody. You're kind of tough act to follow, you know?
This council has no hesitation in proclaiming you all
guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
You will not down before me, Jor-El! Both you and them one day, Jor-El!
3 supervillains, each one with the same power he has.
Is there no one on this planet to even challenge me?
What's your hurry, Superman?
A gang of terrorists seized the Eiffel Tower.
A bomb!
The Phantom Zone might, just might, be cracked by a nuclear explosion in space.
Oh my God! Help! Clark is not around as usual.
If the whole planet is watching, cannot we show them something more interesting?
You think I'm Superman?
I am General Zod, your ruler.
You are Superman. If you intend to live your life with a mortal, you must live as a mortal.
I want the man I fell in love with.
I know that, Lois. I wish you were here.
There is one man here on Earth who will never kneel before you.
Who is the Simba suit? General? Would you care to step outside?
Superman!
Kneel before Zod!
You think I'm Superman?
Gotcha.
That's the old man. He looks just like the kid.
Revenge!
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 This is the son of Jor-El.
No, but I'll bet you're a son of a...
Jimmy!
You cannot serve humanity by investing your time and emotion in one human being at the expense of the rest.
They can fly, they can see through things. Anything Superman can do, they can do.
I can't believe what you've given up for me.
Come to me, Superman, if you dare.
Bow, yield, kneel. That kind of stuff closes out of town.
You've made a dreadful mistake, Kal-El.
What do you want?
Australia. My son.
General, haven't you ever heard of freedom of the press?
Superman!
You don't have to worry. Your secret's safe with me.
This country is safe again, Superman. Thanks to you.
No, sir.
When we last left Superman, he managed to wrap up everything that was thrown at him in a nice tidy bow. He took care of a bunch of bad guys running around in Metropolis. He saved California from a cataclysmic earthquake, sent Lex Luthor and his sidekick Otis to prison. He did some making out with Miss Tessmacher, and even got to save Lois Lane's life with his cool trick of spinning the world backwards. Now it seemed like he could finally relax a bit, focus on his job at the Daily Planet, and maybe even try to make some time with Lois. Not very likely. When Superman the movie ended, we were promised to see Superman return. Originally, the plan was only a wait of 6 months between the films. But that didn't happen. Actually, a lot of stuff changed from the original plan of the two films, and what the final results ended up as. With all the conflicts that were going on, I'm sometimes amazed the films came out as good as they did. But we'll leave that aside for now and look at the film that most fans grew up watching. So 2 years later, Superman was back with what some fans consider the greatest superhero movie ever. Never mind just the best superhero sequel. After getting our appetites wet with that pre-credit sequence from the very beginning, this time those 3 Kryptonian criminals wouldn't just be standing inside floating hula hoops or squished in a flat square prison, but they would be laying a path of destruction heading towards their ultimate goal of ruling Earth and seeking revenge against the son of Jor-El. Not only that, but this time Supes has to juggle Lois's suspicions that her mild-mannered colleague is in fact the Man of Steel. The film starts out with Superman hurling a nuclear bomb into space before it detonates in the middle of Paris. Unfortunately, this bomb cracks open the Phantom Zone and frees the evil General Zod, Ursa, and Non. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor has been stuck cooling his heels in prison alongside Otis, listening to his Liberace records. Lex makes an escape with the help of Miss Tessmacher. I'm not really sure why she would be helping him after the whole destroying Hackensack drama from before, but we just have to go with it. Otis gets left behind, while her and Lex head to the Fortress of Solitude to discover Superman's secrets. Clark seems to have a dream assignment when he and Lois have to pose as newlyweds in Niagara Falls. After we've all been wondering how long it would take for the hammer to fall on Lois's head, she finally starts to suspect Clark is Superman. Clark plays it off with his "Lois, you're just being silly" kind of way, but the klutz that he is, he trips into the flames of love and reveals his secret. They both confess their love for each other, fly off to the Fortress of Solitude where they have a romantic dinner. Supes has some champagne. I thought he doesn't drink.
He's 6'4", has black hair, blue eyes, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, and tells the truth.
Oh. I guess he lied about that one. The real excitement is General Zod and his gang, landing on Earth and getting acquainted with how easily they can kill, destroy, and rule us weak human beings. There doesn't seem like anything can stop them, especially when Superman decides to give up his superpowers to live a human life with Lois. Now that Superman is no longer Superman, he and Lois do some human lovemaking in an aluminum foil bed. After apparently ditching Miss Tessmacher, Lex tries to ingratiate himself with Zod by promising him the son of Jor-El. So the whole Earth looks to be really screwed. That is until Superman suddenly shows back up and he and the 3 baddies have a super fight in the middle of Metropolis. It culminates at a showdown in the Fortress of Solitude with Supes doing some new weird stuff that seems kind of out of left field. He manages to get the upper hand by tricking the Kryptonian gang and taking away their powers, and easily kills them. He sends Lex back to jail and gives Lois an amnesia kiss to forget that he is Clark Kent. He pays a visit to the president, apologizing for disappearing the way he did, and promises never to let that happen again. Cue the credits. That's a quick rundown of the film, but really it's not necessary. Every superhero fan has seen the film and knows it. I've always loved this movie since first seeing it. I suppose the most memorable thing about it is the film's villains. You know the old saying, a hero is only as good as the villains he's facing, and Superman 2 really delivers on that, by giving Superman 3 of the toughest adversaries he could ever meet. Terrence Stamp is great as General Zod, who immediately gave one of the best superhero villain performances ever. Zod is simply driven by revenge against Jor-El, and the fact that he believes he should be a ruler and have everyone kneel at his feet, simply because he thinks he's better than everyone else. He has no problem with destroying, hurting, or killing to intimidate and get what he wants. It's a pretty straightforward character. The fun is how Stamp plays it. He's not simply playing a bad guy, but a bad guy with a little twisted humor to it. He's pretty funny with some of his off-the-cuff lines.
Oh, God.
Zod.
There are always little moments, like how he's admiring himself in the television monitor, that along with his direct commands, I find very amusing. Zod has some backup with Ursa and Nan. Ursa I've always been fascinated by. Sarah Douglas has sort of a sadistic Tinkerbell quality that makes her come off as really cool. She gives off her own chilly stares. I think cold stares are almost a villain requirement. She seems to be the one Kryptonian who really enjoys hurting people. Zod does his stuff as a means to an end, but Ursa, I think she would just start kicking ass to get off on it. I especially like how she collects and wears the badges and medals from the humans she encounters, sort of like her trophy collection. She's sort of a contrast to Nan, played by Jack O'Halloran. Nan is essentially the brawn in the trio. He doesn't speak, he just grunts and loyally follows Zod. It's kind of funny when I think if Nan had been a good guy, where would his place have been on Krypton? You got this technologically advanced planet. Everyone seems to possess some sort of brilliance. Would Nan just be the guy who sweeps up? This trio could have come off as a silly pack of solid gold cast-offs, but they end up being really, really cool. So you got these three tearing through the world, along with Lex Luthor leading them on. Once again, I really like Gene Hackman, and this time he's much funnier than the first film. The role of comedy relief gets passed along through the original film's villains. Lex and Otis are in prison, and naturally Otis does his classic doofus thing. Lex leaves Otis behind, something I'm guessing sat alright with most fans, and then Miss Tessmacher provides the laughs. Then she suddenly disappears, and Lex picks up the one-liners for the rest of the movie. I suppose it probably was a good idea not to try to combine Lex's gang with Zod's. Things could have gotten too crowded and zany, and started to play like a bad sitcom. We get a nice big superhero fight in the middle of Metropolis, and despite some shaky shots here and there, it still holds up pretty nicely. The actors really sell the whole thing. The B story of Lois and Clark consummating their love and Supes giving up his powers complicates even further the Zod story. How can Superman possibly stop him now? This plays out Lois's suspicions about Clark she started to have towards the end of the first film. Their whole dinner in the fortress has an uneasy, awkward edge to it. It's almost like despite finally getting some romantic time with Superman, Lois isn't sure how to act now and is uncomfortable with this whole thing. When I was little, this was always my least favorite part of the movie. Who wants the mushy stuff when we got Nan learning how to use his heat vision? Supes giving up his powers for Lois starts to open up questions about whether it was really a good idea anyway. I never got the impression that Lois was actually in love with Clark Kent. Based on their dinner scene, it doesn't seem like they view Superman and Clark the same way. So when Supes gives up his powers and agrees to be Clark full-time, it doesn't really look like Lois is too happy with that. Unfortunately for him, she is in love with Clark. It's Superman who's her guy. But how's she supposed to explain that to him after he already agreed to get his powers stripped away in that weird special effects sequence? So Lois would be better to keep her mouth shut. Maybe wait for the right time to tell him she's really not feeling this whole thing and give him the "we can still be friends" speech.
Excuse me, sir. I think you're sitting in my seat.
Your seat's in there, Four Eyes.